Hello, and welcome to this short presentation in our series on taxonomies, linked data, content architecture and classification. Today, we're going to show how you can use the FontoXML content editor to link together pieces of content and taxonomy concepts. Actually, what we're really doing here is classifying content using an external classification scheme, and the eventual goal is to build a content knowledge graph. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. If you've followed any of our recent webinars and other online presentations, you'll know about the advantages of implementing enterprise taxonomy management in your business. But there's often a large gulf between knowing something would be a benefit and knowing how to make it happen. And that's what we'll be covering here today. For this demonstration, we will need three things. First, a place to store and access our content. Ideally, we would use a content management system for this, but since we also want to show some content structure and detail, we're going to use files stored in a web-based file store, Google Drive. The second thing we need is a place to store and access our taxonomy. I'm using the PoolParty taxonomy management system for this purpose. Some of our other presentations cover using PoolParty to manage your taxonomies, but for now, just think of this as a single place within your enterprise. You might call it a single source of truth, to store collections of concepts that classify your business information. Third, we need an effective way to help these information components to work together. One very effective way to do this is to tag as you go. Work within your content editor software. This can save your editors a lot of work and at the same time improve the precision of your content classification. In this demonstration, we're using the FontoXML editor. This uses programming interfaces to link the other components together. These are our three components then. Documents stored in Google Drive, taxonomy concepts stored in PoolParty, and FontoXML to stitch them together in a meaningful way. Now we're going to look at each of these components in turn so that you can see how they work in real life. So the scenario we're playing out here goes like this. In my Google Drive account, we've created a top-level folder containing a document that's based on a recent publication by the UK government, the White Paper on Brexit. This document is in DITA format. DITA is an abbreviation for the Darwin Information Typing Architecture. It's a common format for building structured documents. If we open up this folder, we can see that the document consists of a map file, here, which acts a bit like a table of contents, pointing to a large collection of topic files, like this one, and any supporting images and other assets. These topic and asset files provide the granular chunks of content that go to make up the complete document. In an ideal world, of course, this content would be stored in a content management system, but for the purposes of this demonstration, files in Google Drive are good enough. In a while, we'll take a look at how to load and edit this content using FontoXML. But wherever the content's stored, we want to ensure that we're going to be able to find these topic content chunks again in future. And one very good way to achieve that is to classify the content using a taxonomy. And that's where we're going to look next. As it turns out, we have a taxonomy of general business concepts that are appropriate to use to classify our content. This screen shows the PoolParty taxonomy management system. I've logged in and loaded up the taxonomy that I'm going to use to classify my content. You can see here the hierarchical arrangement of concepts on the left-hand side, and on the right the additional properties for the concept that we've selected. Now there are a lot of really excellent learning resources for PoolParty on the web, so I'm not going to go into details here. Suffice to say that we can access the concepts in a PoolParty taxonomy both within the UI, as we're doing here, and also programmatically from anywhere else by using their Uniform Resource Identifiers or URIs. To show you briefly how PoolParty works, let's find a concept that describes the Single European Act, and I can do that using the search function and autocomplete. There it is. and PoolParty will load that concept, reposition on that concept, and then show the properties of that concept in the right hand side of the window. This concept has a preferred label, Single European Act, which is the human readable identifier. It also has a Uniform Resource Identifier, URI, which is primarily designed for computers to read. You can also see other properties such as broader concepts, related concepts, and a definition. We'll be referring back to this concept in a while, which is why I'm pointing it out now. Now, the final thing to note is that this taxonomy is being managed in a taxonomy management system, which is on a computer located in a completely different part of the world from the DITA files in my Google Drive folder. The location of the taxonomy doesn't matter because we'll be linking to it over the internet using a software connection. The crucial thing about this demonstration is that the different components are all distributed in different locations and are connected together programmatically through APIs. Finally, we've set up the FontoXML editor to load up my content and also to connect to my taxonomy. We're ready to get to work. So let's just log in to FontoXML. Now I'll be signing in either with a Microsoft account, a OneDrive account, or a Google Drive account. Since my files are in Google, let's do it that way. Now, since I'm already logged into Google in the background, it's logged me in straight away. And as I do so, I can see the same folder that I had in Google Drive. So if I just open up Google Drive, you'll see I have the Great Repeal Act content. That was the same as the folder that we saw in Google Drive. So let's just open that up. Now, quite conveniently, FontoXML will pick up a DITA map file and will automatically load all of the content contained within that DITA map file. So if we just go find the DITA map file, there it is, and let's just open that up. This can take a while because this document, defined by the DITA map, is made up of nearly 140 discrete chunks of content, or DITA topics, and those are stored in a remote location. So in the background now, FontoXML is loading these and assembling them all together to present into a single intuitive editor window. And this is the result. Just to get some orientation, this editor window is designed to be familiar to content editors who've used Word or other such text processing programs. So we have the usual sort of ability to select text and then apply styling and so on. But that's not the subject of this presentation. Again, there are learning resources available on the web for this. I'm focusing on how we can, as a content editor, how we can be alerted to potential tagging in this document and then enact that tagging. Just for some orientation, by the way, the right hand side of this window shows the structure of this DITA document, and I can locate a particular part of that document and it will load in the editor window. I can also, as we'll see shortly, I can also look at the underlying XML source for this, but just for the moment, let's put this away. I've just parked that off to the side of the screen so we can focus on the content. As I scroll through the document, you will see that some words and phrases have been marked with a yellowish highlight or underline. Now these represent pieces of content that FontoXML and PoolParty together have analysed and have decided that could be classified or tagged using a PoolParty taxonomy. It's important to note that this process of tagging is dynamic and real time. FontoXML is using one of PoolParty's services to analyze the content and to suggest concepts from the taxonomy that might be a good match. So let's look a little bit closer at this now. If we look at this paragraph of text here, we've got a few suggested tags, things like Single European Act. And you'll know we've just been looking at that in PoolParty. Some of them are obvious as tags, like Single European Act. Others are less so. To me, this always highlights the importance of not relying on completely automated tagging. Humans are much better at determining the aboutness of things. So let's suppose we decided that this document, this granular chunk of information, should be tagged with the concept Single European Act. If I hover over this and then do a right click, you will see that after a very short pause, a little pop-up window appears that says Refer to Single European Act. Now that's loading a concept from PoolParty on the fly with a preferred label, Single European Act, and it's saying, I think you should tag this content in this way. So let's do that. We click on Single European Act, and you'll notice if I just click off of that, that the highlights turn to blue. And that's indicating that the content has now been tagged with that concept. If I click on it again, you'll see that it loads a definition, and that definition has also been loaded on the fly out of PoolParty. Let's just look at the source now. So if I just highlight this section here, then FontoXML will show us the source code. And if you look closely at this, we'll just zoom in on it, it's got a new element surrounding the word Single European Act. And these point to the URI of the concept in the PoolParty taxonomy. So in other words, this is making a dynamic link to a concept in a taxonomy in a remote PoolParty server. And it's associating it with this piece of text in the content. Just to demonstrate that this is happening in real time, if we look at this last sentence here, we also refer to the Treaty of Rome, and let's just say, and also to Brexit. As I type the word Brexit, it's highlighting, and it's being associated with a concept called Brexit in that taxonomy. So I can say, yes, okay, that's about Brexit. Now, the astute viewer will be ahead of me here. We actually have the basic concepts here, the basic components for a semantic triple. We've got a subject, which is this content object here, and we have an object, the taxonomy concept, and we have a predicate, which is so far undefined but is basically has subject or is tagged with. And so we here have the makings for creating the elements of a semantic knowledge network of concepts and content. So just to reinforce this idea of a semantic triple, we have a content object which we've linked to a taxonomy concept. To make a semantic triple out of this, we need the URI of the content object, which we have with the FontoXML object ID. We need the URI of the taxonomy concept that we've linked to the content, and we need a predicate, which is also a URI. This is not defined yet, but it would be something like is tagged with or has subject, and it would come out of the content model that you use to define your content. That's for another time though. So let's just briefly summarize. We can take these components, a content management system in one part of the internet, and a taxonomy management system in another part, and then glue them together in a meaningful way using a third component that could be anywhere else. It's a linked, distributed set of information systems with semantic connections between them. With just a couple more simple steps, we can start to build out a knowledge graph for our content. Narrative content linked to unstructured web content and data in databases using classification against taxonomies. We'll be returning to this idea in another session very soon. In the meantime, we hope you found this short presentation useful. Make sure to look out on our website and LinkedIn page for other videos, articles and presentations. For now, thank you for watching and goodbye.